Okay. An intriguing documentary is about to release next week in cinemas across Australia, a film called Lion Spy, which is a real expose of the hunting and killing of wild lions in Africa. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the writer-director of Lion Spy, Rogue Rubin. Welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Thank you, Peter. And I've been reading up on you as well.
Uh-oh. That's a worry. All right. Now, Rogue. First of all, I'm intrigued by your name because that, of course, I gather that's not your original name.
It's not my first name. It's my middle name.
It's your middle name. That's right. Is it Joni?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Anyway, look, this is such an interesting documentary and a real expose. How did it all come about?
It started with a simple what is the purpose of my life, and was a little bit disillusioned at the time where I was working, and disenchanted. I love filmmaking, I love films, and I love the ability that we have to use them to educate, to empower, to entertain as well as part of it. And I came across an Instagram post that said lions in the wild were endangered and they were on the verge of extinction. And I thought, no, they're not. They're roaming all around Africa. Has no one seen The Lion King? Because I have, right? So we know Simba's fine. He took down Scar. Come on. So that's, so I did a little bit more research, and I considered myself educated in the field. I know elephants are on the verge of extinction with 50,000 in the wild. I know rhinos on the verge of extinction with 30,000 in the wild. But I had no idea that lions were on the verge of extinction with only 20,000. And that makes them on the verge of imminent extinction. And on top of that, it's still legal to kill them.
Incredible story. So in constructing this documentary where you sort of inveigle yourself with these people, one in particular, I think called Peter, if I'm not mistaken, who organizes these tours for people to go and hunt and kill lions. That must have been an interesting process for you of becoming that sort of spy. How did all that work?
I think so. Look, there was a number of people I was involved with. Obviously, a documentary can only be a certain amount of time. I filmed it over many years. I can show you many other parts to the documentary that never made it. So this is, I did choose to focus on the first outfitter that Peter, that I began the journey with. But by no means is he different to other outfitters. Well, it's not, it's not entirely like everyone has their own ethics. But I went down the alias path in order to gain access to a world that didn't want to have a conversation simply. And it was much more genuine that I just wanted to have a conversation and understand their world and understand their opinions and understand what they felt, believed, were educated to believe. So it really came from a place of truth and much more, not to take anyone down. There's the belief, I went to take people down. I was like, no, I just went out there to understand what was going on, to document the process. And in order to be allowed access to a deeper conversation, they simply wanted to know that I was more aligned with their beliefs. And maybe at one point in time I was, because their beliefs do hold, if you only do surface research or only a couple of years, as opposed to many that I have done, there's a lot of research that will say that their arguments, if it pays, it stays, money goes back to conservation. Unfortunately, that's not the case the deeper you go, but it's certainly an argument that they've been fed to believe.
Okay, really interesting. Of course, the revelation of your real role later in the film becomes prominent. But it's intriguing that you had a camera person, obviously, with you maybe even a sound recorder, or did you film all of this yourself?
I filmed it myself, and I've been quite clear about that. That's in all the media. No, I filmed this myself. And what I've said is that I gave the camera. You can either see that I'm filming myself, or I gave the camera to locals who filmed me in situations. Yeah. So I filmed it. I filmed it. I recorded it. I had all my, I think you see me holding my Zoom microphone. You see me holding cameras. And the only thing not recorded by me would have been the final scene.
Okay. Well done on that. It's very impressive. I'm intrigued about also the production, because obviously this would have cost a fair bit of money with travel, with you traveling to film and to make arrangements and so on. Was there production behind you to be able to make this film?
So, I mean, also, look, it took place over a number of years. So as time progressed, things changed. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, people are loaning you things or, helping you in different ways. And other times, certainly though, financially, I'm supporting myself. If you've read, I've been a major commercial director with large campaigns in the United States for a long time. I've directed and produced a lot of television. So that was supporting me. That was personally supporting me through the journey.
Okay. Now, there's obviously a very strong conservation, environmental sort of aspect that permeates the film. And of course, there's a strong message about the danger that lions experience, and that hopefully this poaching and this sort of events can stop. Has your documentary had any sort of influence in perhaps reducing the amount of lion kills, etc.?
Peter, the documentary only comes out on November 24th.
So it hasn't been seen anywhere else?
No. So it can't have an influence when it hasn't been seen.
I thought for some reason that it had been shown overseas somehow.
It comes out next year internationally.
Right. So it's very much a world premiere, pretty much. Mm-hmm. How interesting. But obviously your hope would be that the film would serve some sort of purpose in terms of reducing the carnage that's happening with these hunters in Africa.
Mm-hmm. So firstly, we have to take responsibility. Everyone needs to take responsibility, because lions currently only exist in Africa due to a number of environmental reasons. And we all benefit from their existence. We all benefit from all species' existence, particularly the lion being the most iconic animal on Earth. And Africa is a third world country that doesn't have the financial resources and abilities to support itself. So that does become a reflection on us, who just simply, we love films about them. We love watching them. We love icons of them. For them to go extinct on our watch would be an embarrassment to humankind. So I can say that. And what I hope that the film does, and the film's not about poachers. The film is about legal hunting. And what I hope the film does is that the film ensures that lion trophy parts and products become illegal to be imported into any country. And what that means is that people won't want to go hunt a trophy that they're not capable of then bringing home. And that creates a huge impact. And additionally, simply telling people that the lion is endangered is a big part of it, because people don't know the lion's endangered, and you can't help preserve a species that you don't know is on the brink of extinction.
It's interesting, this film does put you at a little bit of risk in terms of the way you filmed it, and I'm intrigued to know if you had any issues during the filming, and whether Peter has responded after the confrontation, I suppose, in a sense, happens late in the film, whether he's responded back to you about what you were doing.
So certainly throughout the film, I mean, simply as a female, you shouldn't be running around with strange men to places you can't pronounce. I'm pretty sure you're told as a child, don't get into a car with strange men, don't get into a car with strange men and guns. I'm sure that's on that list. So yes, there was definitely always a concern for safety. And I have not had a conversation following with Peter since what you saw.
How interesting. So when you mentioned your background, I was quite intrigued because I noticed you also worked on, is it Slumdog Millionaire? You did some work, Man on Wire, the Osama bin Laden doco. You've had a really interesting experience in filmmaking.
Yeah, I've had a great life. I've had a really interesting life. I've got to work with people that I grew up just really being so profoundly amazed by their work and by the way they did things and how they constructed. And so I feel like I got to learn from the best. And not that, gosh, you know, I don't feel like I hold a flame to them, but they're certainly, for any filmmaker out there, being able to work with people that you respect so highly is a gift. And to learn from people who are so terrific at their craft is a gift, and learning so many important lessons along that way, and friendship. So yeah.
Wow, that's terrific. So in terms of your making Lion Spy, were there any particular influences, films or filmmakers in terms of your approach?
There's no other female documentarian that I know of that's created an alias and gone undercover for so long. I mean, the closest would be Sacha Baron Cohen with Borat. Like, so sometimes people are like, what are you? I'm like, well, I'm the female serious conservation version of Borat. That's the best I got. I think it's an influence of multiple people. Certainly, I'm open about the fact that Super Size Me changed my world, because it was the first documentary I ever watched where I went, that's awesome. That's a interesting like subject that I never would have found interesting. It wasn't a black and white documentary. It wasn't David Attenborough. You know, I know I hope he doesn't see it, but I'm sure, you know, everyone's like, animals, David Attenborough. Well, I kind of find them boring, to be honest. I don't find them intriguing. I don't want to just sit and watch an animal and hear this very serious male voice. And you know what? I don't want to hear more male voices either, Peter. Sorry. I'd like a few more women in the pot. So it was influenced by multiple people. And Michael Moore, Morgan Spurlock, Louis Sahoyas. Those are the people that influenced my work. But not, yeah, and profoundly so, probably.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that you obviously shot a lot more material than you ended up using. And over, as you said, this was filmed over a period of a number of years. How did you make the decisions about the editing of the documentary?
You have to just clearly understand, what are you trying to say and what is the best way in which to say it. And the film is about, why are wild lions going extinct? Why do we not know? That's the simply it. And then you go from there. So you work backwards, and then I did work with a team on it. It wasn't like, it's just not, I don't think it's something you can single-handedly do when you're so involved. So I did work with the team on it, and we would go through all the footage and answer the question it seemed the best way to document it was to put how it was filmed into it. So that wasn't something that was thought out strategically. It became part of it, but it wasn't always thought out strategically. That was something that evolved, that telling it through my eyes and seeing it through my eyes was the best way to bring it to you. And then through that footage with, there was my lead editor, Katie Flaxman, genius, who I worked with so closely, the assembly editor, Spider, and the final consultant editor, Scott Gray. So there was a number of people involved in the process.
And added to that is a music score that's in your documentary, Brett Rosenberg. Yeah. Interesting how you made that decision to put the music in.
Interesting to make what do you mean?
Yes, I mean, obviously to have original music in the film. How did you make that decision to have a pretty much a music score throughout your documentary?
To me, every film is the music is one of the most powerful storytelling techniques that you can utilize, and music gives you the feeling of fear, emotion, happiness, contentment. It tells all those things in a simple, beautiful sound. So there was never, for me, any film I think of, I listen to musical scores the way most people listen to pop music. So it was never a question. It was never a question who was going to do the music either. I've been friends with the composer Brett Rosenberg for years. He also just scored, I've done another film since then, a narrative, a romantic comedy. I had him do that. So yeah, he's one of my, as filmmakers, we have partners that we work with long term. So the same way when I'm filming with DPs, directors of photography and other things, like you have your team that you go to.
Sure. You mentioned that you've made another film. Can you talk about that romantic comedy?
It's out. It had a premiere at the Brisbane International Film Festival. It's called Love in Bloom. And it is about a beautiful American florist who comes to Australia to help her sister's wedding and ends up falling in love with the best man. I don't feel like there's a spoiler in it. It's a romantic comedy. I mean, if you can't guess the ending, you shouldn't be watching any films. Okay, go home. And that comes out theatrically Valentine's Day next year.
Okay, but that's interesting because you obviously like making narrative films and also documentary films. Do you have a preference?
And commercials. I love making commercials too.
And commercials, yeah.
Yeah. Do I have a preference? Nope. Whatever is exciting me at that present moment in time is my preference. How to tell stories and create emotions and feelings is important to me. And that can come in many ways. I mean, you look at someone like a director, I worship Adam McKay, who went from working with Will Ferrell and really, and writing on Saturday Night Live and doing these crazy things to, he's become very serious in his work recently. I was so lucky and fortunate to have spent some time chatting with him about the film. And yeah, so people, you change and your films change and your stories change.
Well, congratulations on all that. And Lion Spy is in cinemas, world premiere in Australia next week. And then, as you say, it will be released worldwide. And I wish you well with the film.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the interview, Peter. And I hope you have students. I hope you send all your students on.
Okay. I will do that. Rogue Rubin, thanks so much for talking with me about Lion Spy.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.